What up, what up, what up, what up? It's me, L Teddy 27.
What's good? It's night right about the hood.
Oh, dear God.
I'm already eating and drinking. Look a damn mess. Just a damn mess. No means no, and yes means no. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's good, people? What is up? What's up, people? What's up? It's me, L Teddy 27, and yes, I am back. I know I've been out for a while, but I'm back here for another review. This, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be our review for David Makes Man. It is season 2. It is episode 7. It is entitled No Atheists in the Rabbit Holes. All right. So, yeah. We're going to break all of this down. Let's break it down. Let's do this. Let's get down to it. So, David wakes up. It's morning. He is not home. He is on somebody's couch. No 3:28 a.m. wake up. No night sweats. No nothing. He's just waking up on this couch. In just his boxer briefs. And it's Saren's place. I don't know. At first, I didn't know whether or not it was Saren's home or whether it was a hotel and Saren was just visiting, because we still don't have a lot of information about Saren. We don't know if Saren lives back in South Florida anymore, if he still stays over in Tampa or in some other part of the state or the world. We don't know if this is his house or if he was just, at a hotel. We don't know anything. David wakes up there. He's on this porch. Saren comes out. And Saren gives him some juice, which we find out is pickle juice. I never even heard that pickle juice was a remedy for a hangover, but I guess y'all put it in the comment section if y'all heard that before, because I ain't never heard that before. Go get some BioLite, okay? Go to Publix, get you a bottle of BioLite. Not Pedialyte, because that's for children, but BioLite, which is way better than Pedialyte. It'll get you right. Anyway, David, so they have this whole conversation about the night before, and Saren is, alluding to, I never thought it would be like this, and the way his conversation is going, it does make it seem like they had something happen last night outside of what we saw in the field or in the sprinklers or whatever in the grass. And so David tries to kiss Saren. Now I'm confused. Even if you tell me y'all had a drunken tryst, or y'all, you got drunk or high or combination of the two, and y'all had a little, bust down or whatever the night before. First of all, I always say, yeah, you can have a lot of alcohol, but whatever you do, you still know that you're doing it, okay? You still are con. You might not remember you did it, but in the moment, you know what you're doing, and you're willing to do it. And even if that's the case, if you are a completely heterosexual man, even if you feel like y'all did something the next morning, your first inclination is not to go and kiss the person. Unless you want something to happen again. Like, kissing someone in that moment is like leading up to, hey, let's have another bust down. Let's do this again. Come on now. I'm confused. I am confusion. Sarah tells him that they didn't have sex. He's like, what are you doing? We didn't have sex. None of that happened. You wouldn't be on the couch if we had sex. And he's like, I'm gay, David. You're not. I don't know how much of that is true at this point. And Saren says, David says, I love you. Saren says, I love you too, but not in that way. So not in an erogenous way. But I don't know. This just is confusing. This is not how things play out, even if what David thought happened. This is not how it plays out the next morning. That's not how this happens. I don't know. Especially not unless David is coming out and letting us know that he is now at least bisexual. Anyway, next thing you know, we see, David has that. At this point, you can't escape. David has some erogenous feelings for Saren. Whether or not he wants to admit it, whether or not Saren wants to admit it, and I think Saren knows that, and I can't believe that Saren doesn't know that, because there would be no reason for a kiss if there weren't those type of feelings for Saren. Come on now. Don't play on our intelligence. Anyway, David goes over to Nicole's house and tries to fuck the gay away and bust her down with reckless abandon and, trying to prove to himself that he ain't gay. After they fuck, he tries to talk or something. She dismisses him. And after she got what she wanted, she basically dismissed him and was like, yeah, we're not doing this. And tells him she'll let him know when she's ready to talk. I got what I needed, got the dick. Thank you for coming. Please drive safely. We then see David at home, and he's getting ready to go. He's in his, jogging clothes and gets ready to go out for this, for a jog. And then Padilla comes and says, "Come with me." Now, and here was one of my issues. My issue is for the remainder of, well, not the remainder, but for the better part of the rest of this episode, he's in these same clothes, like workout clothes, compression shirt and compression tights with some shorts on and some running shorts. Like, y'all can give him like 5 minutes. Well, let me go put on some clothes. At some point, I feel like David would have went and put on some goddamn clothes, but whatever. Um, we see JG goes to see Shalimar in the jail, and he has this smooth talk. The corrections officer, so she could let him in because he didn't know nobody's list to go and talk to this young man. Then we cut back to Padilla and David. They down to the Ville. Padilla telling him this sad story about how his family came to America. They were processed by immigration like a mile away from there, and how he wanted it to be this, the place near where he first made it to, his family first made it to America, to be this, big, thriving place, beautiful, all this, that, and the third. Some sad ass story that nobody cares about. And then he lets David know about, why would you lead me into this? And knowing that the land is toxic. And David is like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so he's like, and so he shares with David this article in the newspaper about the toxicity in the land at the Ville and this, that, and the third, and how that's going to make it where they can't do the construction or any kind of development whatsoever. And he lets him know that Marissa supplied all the data for the article. And David is like, wait a minute, something's not right about this. Like, because he's dumbfounded at this point, and he knows something just doesn't pass the sniff test here. Something is off. And so Padilla tells David, listen, he kind of goes in on David a little bit and says, listen, I brought you to my level so that you could get this done and work this out and make this happen, and you're fucking up your opportunity. Now, I don't know how much I agree with Padilla saying, oh, I brought you up to my level. No, you didn't. Because every chance you get, you try to son David or try to make David remember that he's beneath you, even though he's the one orchestrating everything and you aren't. I don't like the whole Padilla-David relationship because it's so akin to white supremacy. And we know a lot of Cubans in Miami have this air of white supremacy about them because they feel like, because they're white presenting, more so than other people of color, that they are white and they can, wield their, breastplate of white supremacy all over the place. I just don't like it. David goes over to Marissa's house to confront her. Marissa gave, we find out that the article went to the newspaper because Marissa gave it the test results, or the survey results, and all the results about the toxicity of the land to her bust down, and had him, the ugly boy from the gala, and had him put the story out in the paper because y'all know he's a journalist. Anyway, so bust down is there, so she's still thoughting it up with the ugly boy. She tells David that Saren got the information expedited for her because he had some friends over at the labs from when he was a lobbyist for Big Pharma, and she asked him could he do it, and he did. And so David was like, why would y'all do that to me? And she was like, you ain't my friend. My friends call me, and you only call me when you need something. And she was like, it wasn't even about you. Whatever. It wasn't about him, Marissa. You're in this whole thing because of David. What do you mean it's not about him? Like, make it make sense, Marissa. You can't say it's not about David. I'm not saying that you don't mean right by the land, or you aren't into your whole green whatever and into your whole saving the land environmentalist thing. But let's be clear. You want to win over David. Please be clear. And so it absolutely is about David. And if you expect me to believe one iota, Marissa, that you did not tell Saren about this whole situation and that it was for David, well, let me take that back. Maybe she did. She might have left that part out when she told Saren, knowing Saren's relationship with David, and maybe thinking Saren may not have done it so quickly, knowing that it was to pit her against David. I don't know. So I should take that back. But anyway, while they're arguing, bust down, ugly dude comes out and asks David, is he going to the press conference? If he needs, he can give him a ride. So David was like, what press conference? He was like, your Commissioner Roberts is having a whole press conference about today. And he was like, is the Ville on the agenda? He was like, yep, top of the list. He was like, I bet you had something to do about that. He was like, Child, a mess. A mess. He offers David a ride. David takes it. Listen, David, you better than me. Because I would have looked at him and chucked up like, nah, dude, I'm good. Called me a Uber or something, honey. I wouldn't have rode with him. Anyway, we see JG down there to the jail. He's talking to the Shalimar guy. Now, the Shalimar is very off-putting, and he's, the Shalimar cat wants nothing to do with JG. He done been getting beat up and dish ragged in jail by the COs and by the cops that come through to beat him down. And he don't want nothing to do with JG because he probably feels like JG is responsible for that. And he tells JG, listen, I don't want your goddamn money. Take that money. If you want to do something, give it to my mama so she can take care of my brothers and sisters or whatever. And, he tells David, I'm not here to appease your mind and help you feel good. I don't give a shit about you. I'm over here, fighting for my life in jail. Hello, Shalimar. JG was also fighting for his fucking life in the hospital. You forgot that part? Just forgetting that whole part because you're the only one that's suffering. I guess. Anyway, he tells JG before JG leaves, and tell your cops, all your cop friends or whatever, to stop fucking with me in here. That ain't gonna happen. Let it go, honey. Let it go. Dear one, let it go. Anyway, at the press conference, Commissioner Roberts announces the halting of all construction until they can confirm and figure out how much toxicity is in the land over there. And if need be, they will have to relocate and move, and the people that's living there, because they're so concerned about the safety and well-being of the citizens, that they're going to have to move out of their homes and find somewhere else to go. So, at the end of the press conference, David goes over to the commission and asks him, can he delay it, because the people there, they've lived there their whole lives, a lot of them, and they, and they need some time to find somewhere to go. And the commissioner's like, listen, we're going over to try to get this signed by the mayor, and once it's signed by the mayor, they got 30 days to get up out of there, to find a place to go. That's a mess. David goes to pick up this cake for one of the kids, because he had got a text message from Trent, who had said, where you at? You still coming? Don't forget the cake. And he was like, yeah, I'm on my way. He also texts Sharon and text Sharon we need to talk. Anyway, he goes to pick up this cake from this cake shop. Now, in my estimation, I'm figuring in your commute to this cake shop, you could have found your way home to go put on some goddamn clothes instead of still having on these goddamn jogging workout clothes. Whatever. He goes to pick up this cake. The lady done spelled it wrong, because it was from one of the kids down to Robin and Glow's house, whose birthday it is today, and he goes by Danny Yell, and is Danny. It's a two name, Danny Dani, and then Yell Yelle. So the lady was had Danielle Danielle on there. Yeah, tell her correct. Anyway, and all this, she was doing all of this talking. Oh, you fine, you cute. My niece, she's single. This, that, and the third. You don't got no friends. And David says, I don't really have no friends. She was like, what grown man don't have no friends? He was like, I'm trying to figure that out myself. Well, David, a lot of who you are and what you are makes it hard to be your friend. I can relate. I understand it fully. I have very few friends, and even my friends sometimes says that I even make it hard to be my friend. So I can relate to that sometimes. I definitely can relate to where David is coming from with that. Because you want friends, but just in being who you are, it makes it difficult. And very few people can really and truly embrace you and wrap themselves around being your friend. So then we see David goes to Glow's house to drop off the cake. David tries to leave, and Glow was like, nah, we just the food just ready, it's fine. I don't know. I don't know if he was trying to go home or go talk to Saren or go try to change clothes. Something. Anyway, JG comes and they argue. JG was coming to take Trent home, and Trent was like, the party just started. I'm not ready to go. We just started. And he was like, okay. JG and David just go in on each other, just start arguing, just cussing and everything. And Glow is like, wait, no, stop. Da, 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 da. And so they go their separate ways. Glow basically breaks them up. Say, JG, go find some calm. David, you the big brother. You should be doing this. Your brother, you really gonna try to hit your brother? He just got out of the hospital, because they was looking like they was about to go to blows. And so David gives Glow some and said, you don't even know. Me and JG always argue like this, but you wouldn't know because you were not there. And Glow is taken aback and like, oh, that's what we doing? You need to go home. And she was like, yeah, you need to go your ass home because now you just being disrespectful. While Glow and David is having a argument outside, disrespectful ass neighbor next door is going in on one of the kids and yelling at the kids and stuff like that. And David goes out and Glow goes outside and he starts calling one of the kids a thing, a it, and that's not normal, and that's not. And so David goes in and loses it. Probably just everything that he has going down. Culminating in him exploding on this man, and he goes and starts choking the man out and say, "Yeah, say that shit to me. Come at me like you coming at these kids," and starts choking the man out and tell the man, going on, leave us alone. And Glow said, "Yeah, leave us alone. You don't know us, and you don't know what we capable of." And send the man on. JG is in the car. Um, Trish calls him and say, "Where y'all at? Why you entering in here?" JG's like, "Oh, Trish just got here. She's trying to enjoy herself." Trish goes off. I don't like when she be over there all the time. She come back with an attitude and this, that, and the third. I really think she just don't like her being around the other, the LGBT youth, because stupid ass parents think they're always going to rub her off on my child. It's just stupid. Anyway, JG said, "Listen, I'll be there soon, okay?" But ends up going over to the Ville to go see Shella. And when he gets to Shella's house, he tells Shella, Shella starts telling him about, the news about the land and how it's toxic now. And they may have to move and relocate and this, that, and the third. And JG then tells her about, JG said he didn't know nothing about it, but then he tells her about his meeting with Shalimar, how Shalimar went here for it. And Shella says to JG, that he only did that and is only doing all of this to make himself feel good, not really truly trying to help Shalimar. No, I can't really go with you fully on that. Sure, anytime somebody does something, part of it is to help to make yourself feel good. Even the most philanthropic person, even in their charity and benevolence and their philanthropy, a part of that is to make yourself feel good and to know that you're doing right. That all of that is, but you inevitably are still trying to help the other person, help your community, help the person that you're gifting or giving something to. That is the ultimate goal. And part of it is making yourself feel good as well. You want to feel good too. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I hate when people try to make people feel bad about saying, "Oh, this is just to help you feel good." Well, that's a part of it. Just like you argue with me right now, it's probably making you feel good. And so, and I don't understand why Shella then starts to place so much blame and guilt on JG, as if JG can solve the problems of the criminal justice system and police reform all in itself, and as if JG is one of the bad cops, and as if JG is the problem. When in everything we've seen, JG is the one that's doing right by the Ville. He's one of the few people that's doing right by Shella, the Ville, and the people there, Mix Elijah, and everything. So this projecting that she's doing on JG and this trying to make G the cause of everything. Say, "Oh, you don't get to be judge, jury, and everything for him." I don't see that. Like, I guess they were trying to have this big moment, but they lost me on that because I just don't get that from JD. They end up kissing, and of course, conveniently, Trisha calls. JG got to go. We then see David. He's on his way home, and he sees Nicole, and he goes at this shop. He goes and tries to talk to her. She asked him about his brother. He basically was like, "Why are you asking me about my brother?" And she was like, "Nope, we ain't talking. I'll talk to you when I'm ready." She ain't having it. So, JG is at home. Him and Trisha are arguing. Baby, they are going at it. They start off because Trisha was like, "You want that glow house? You want with Trent? Where you been? How you?" And they be like, "All right, so now I got to clock in with you." And so they arguing about where he been. Then they start arguing about him not giving about him giving the money to Shalimar's defense fund instead of them keeping it. And I noticed one line where she was like, I think she said something about giving to a good man or something like that. People give money to a good man. Anyway, I forgot exactly what she said, but I remember his response was, "Who said I was a good man?" I wrote that down because now after Shella's conversation, now he's taking that on and I guess feeling that he's not a good man when that's not the case. And unfortunately, he's let someone else's projections on him become his truth. Yeah, I don't like that. Then we see and he walks off, and we see Trent. He sees Trent in the room crying and whatever while they're arguing or whatever. Now, my question was, what does Trisha do? Does she have a job? Like, is JG her cash cow? I mean, I don't even got that much money. He's only a police officer, but I mean, what's her background? Did she grow up, maybe with not a lot of money, was trying to marry somebody with a decent job or something? I need to know how they met, what their backstory is. What the fuck does she do? What does she do? Because it seems like everything is being put on JG, and she ain't doing nothing. She's real hell bent on saying she's the wife when she ain't really the wife. Talk about she the common law wife and ain't no such animal in Florida. I guess. Anyway, David goes over to Saren's house to confront him. So David asks Saren, why would he do this to him? After everything that he's done for Saren. Saren says he was just helping out a friend when he was helping out Marissa, and it wasn't even like that. It wasn't about David. He didn't know it was going to be used to hurt David. That's what Saren said. I can only go by what he said. I don't know how much of that we believe. And then David asks Saren, because then they have the transition between young David, young Saren, and then old David, old Saren. And David asks Saren, why would he do this to him after all David did to help Saren? And then Saren says to David, Saren puts 20 on 10, and Saren says David needs to stop being selfish and making everything about him. And he gives David this half-ass thank you and was like, oh, you need to get over it. This ain't about you. You always trying to make everything about you. This, that, and the third. That was a long time ago. It's over. You need to get over that. We grown now. And I was like, move on. Get over it. Like, okay, writers. Okay, production. Okay, people in the writing room. It's bad enough you write adult David in a way that makes most of the viewing public not like him. It makes adult David not likable, even though we were enamored with young David and loved young David. Now you're writing adult Saren, where we have to hate adult Saren as well. I don't know. Oh, I didn't even tell y'all what my snacks were for today. Snacks, gummy airheads. Anyway, I'm trying to understand why we're writing Saren's character like this, because I just don't. Let's really break this down now. Let's break this down. For all intents and purposes, David saved young Saren's life. Young Saren would not probably be. I'm not saying he wouldn't be alive, but he wouldn't probably be the same person that would have the guts and balls to come at David in the manner that he has, or even be who he was, had David not saved him and got him out of there. I mean, even to the point that had David not introduced Saren, I'm not going to say had he not, but David introduced young Saren to Mix Elijah, which helped Saren, start to unpack the fact that he was gay. The fact that David is so instrumental in his upbringing and getting to who he is and where he is, and for him to just brush that off, you haven't seen David in 15 years. So a certain part of me would venture to guess that you would, in this setting of meeting David, be overwhelmingly grateful and thankful and appreciative to him for everything that he did for you. Not minimize that and make it like, oh, that wasn't nothing. Get over it. Like I just didn't. I didn't like that. We ain't doing that, Sarah. I ain't like that at all. I just don't. I don't like the tenor of this conversation. Adult Saren, even there was a portion of that conversation where adult Saren had a selfish moment himself where he like, it's about me. I'm only thinking about me. And I was like, what? So you're going to call him selfish and say he should only be thinking about him when you just said that it's about you and you're only thinking about you. Come on now, you can't have it both ways. Make it make sense. I didn't like this conversation. So now y'all are making it where we have to hate adult David and we have to hate adult Saren. Anybody y'all want us to like? I mean, anybody. Yes. David goes home. He's sitting there and just recap. And then and Sarah, David said, "You gonna hit me again?" And that was from when Saren clocked David when they were in Dr. Wood's trap class. And Saren says, "You gonna try and kiss me again?" A mess. David goes home and he's sitting there, commiserating and recollecting on everything that went wrong in that day. I mean, you knew the bottom had to fall out after David, was the conquering hero and was going to do the redevelopment and everything was good. He met Saren and he reconnected with Saren and everything with the development seemed to be going right and he had pulled all the right buttons. There had to be an episode where the bottom fell out, and clearly this is that episode. Well, while he's at home commiserating, Robin calls him and says, listen, the police came by and they said that the neighbor's pressing charges. The neighbor didn't say exactly who. He just said he wanted to press charges against people in the house because of the choking situation. And she starts talking to David about, your mom, I got her to go to sleep. She's, dealing with it. And that, some about this neighborhood, we really need to. And while she's trying to go and explain how the neighborhood's back, David was like, thank you for calling me. Let me know. Goodbye. And it was real short. We hung up with her. So David goes for a run. And in that run, he stops at, looks like the river or the canal, but at some water. And if he stays in Brickell, probably somewhere about the Miami River area. It's probably the Miami River he stopped at. And he almost looks like he wants to go and walk into the water, and then he steps back and rethinks it. Next thing you know, we see he's at the bill. And he's sitting on that transistor box, electricity transistor box or whatever that's outside the apartments that we've seen so often. Remember, we saw Sky sitting on there, and that little box right there. We've seen a lot of scenes with that, with there, and David sitting there, just still thinking that Elijah comes and talks with David, and David is lamenting how everything he tries to do just goes wrong. He's just breaking things and breaking people, and he can't seem to fix fix people and fix everything that he's going on. Everything he does seems to just fail. And so Elijah tells him, listen, you can't fix people because people don't break. People get hurt and people heal. And I loved when they first started, when Elijah says, what's the color of your heart today? He says, it's kind of blue. And so Elijah said, let's try and make it more light blue. So we see that Elijah at the end of this starts to have an episode where the dementia and is kicking in, is having probably a memory lapse. And so David sees this and just puts on a smile and says, hi, I'm David, your neighbor, and tries to introduce himself like it's the first time they're meeting. And Elijah says, well, ain't you a sight for sore eyes? And flirts with David a little bit. And he says, a little too forward. He was like, you'll get used to it. And David is just sitting there with his head down. And so Elijah says, well, come with me. And so David is, Elijah's getting ready to go upstairs. And Elijah says, tells David not to cry. And David says, I won't this time. And they walk upstairs. Now, am I reaching when my mind went a whole nother place, y'all? My mind went like, what is happening here? What's about to happen? Or what may have happened in the past between the two of them, where there might have been, during the process, David did shed a tear and cry. And he says, I'm not going to cry this time. After what we know about David and the fact that he's so willingly was ready to kiss Saren, so willingly was okay with the fact that him and Saren might have had, sex. How do I know, and we know Elijah don't mind, that there might not have been a situation between David and Elijah? I don't know. I don't want to go down that road, but I don't put nothing past David after what we've learned this episode. Because when they went upstairs, I was like, okay, y'all going upstairs to do what? It went on from there. I don't know, y'all. I have a whole lot of questions. Y'all know what time it is. It went on from there. Y'all know it's time for us to get in the comment section and argue about what we saw. That's all I got for y'all this week. Let's do what we do. Until next week, thank y'all for coming. Y'all drive safely. We out.